It's another Knick avalanche. And the Cavs have let go here.
What is a championship really worth? I mean, not a trophy, not a ring, not a medal or a celebration. I mean the actual financial value of winning. Because for some people, the championship brings them recognition, or just winning brings them recognition. Meanwhile, the high-level athletes brings them hundreds or millions of dollars. And sometimes a single championship can transform how the world sees you and how much money you can make. And that's exactly what's happening to Anthony Karl Towns, or you can call him Karl-Anthony Towns. After decades of waiting, criticism, setbacks, and more than hundreds of questions asking if whether he would ever win the highest level of a championship. And now Towns has reached the top of basketball. And what's happening next is a masterclass of how modern athletes make wealth. Welcome back to Billionaires.Africa. Today we're looking at on how one NBA championship changed Karl-Anthony Towns' career and elevated his business empire and potentially added $10 million to his future earnings. Now let's get into it. Before we talk about the money, let's talk about the journey. Because championships are rarely won overnight, Karl-Anthony Towns has been chasing this moment for the most of his life. He was born in Edison, in New Jersey, but his family story stretches beyond the United States. His father, Karl Towns Herr, is American. His mother, Jacqueline Mendez Towns, was from the Dominican Republic. And those roots has always been the major part of his identity. And if you have followed his career, you know this hasn't always been easy. In April 2020, while the world was struggling through COVID-19 pandemic, Towns experienced one of the most painful moments of his life. His mother passed away from COVID-related complications, and it was a devastating loss that changed his life forever. And yet somehow he kept moving forward. He kept playing. He kept competing, and he kept believing that his best days were still ahead. Years earlier in 2015, Towns entered the NBA draft that was selected first overall by Minnesota Timberwolves. From the beginning, talent was obvious. He could score, he could rebound, he could defend. He became an all-star multiple times, and he earned All-NBA recognition, and he established himself as one of the most skilled big men in basketball. But there was one thing missing: a championship. Season after season, people admired his talent, but they questioned whether he could ever lead a team to the ultimate prize. And then one day, everything changed. In October 2024, the New York Knicks made a major move. They traded for Karl-Anthony Towns. Along with the trade came a massive contract worth approximately $220 million over 4 years. His annual salary climbed to roughly $53.1 million. And this was a huge investment. And as always in sports, a big investment comes with the big expectations. The Knicks weren't paying for potential, they were paying for results. And on June 13, 2026, they got exactly what they wanted. The New York Knicks defeated San Antonio Spurs 4-1. Karl-Anthony Towns finally became an NBA champion. 11 years after entering the league, and 11 years of waiting. 11 years of hearing people ask whether he could ever get there. And now he had his answer. But there was what most people didn't realize. The championship itself isn't always the biggest reward. Sometimes the real reward comes afterward. Because winning changes how people see you. Think about it. Before the championship, Karl-Anthony Towns was already a star. After the championship, he became something more valuable, a champion. And in the business world, that word carries an enormous weight. Brand loves talent, but they love winners even more. A champion isn't just selling a product. A champion is selling a story. A story of discipline, a story of resilience, a story of success. And consumers buy into that story. That's why winning can dramatically increase an athlete's commercial value. Before the title, Towns already had endorsement partnership with Jordan Brands, Beats by Dre, DoorDash and K2 Sports. Those were already valuable deals. But after championship, every one of those relationships became more powerful. Jordan Brands doesn't simply market athletes, it markets greatness. Having a newly crowned NBA champion in its portfolio creates a new market opportunities. Beats by Dre benefit from being associated with winners. DoorDash now has a spokesperson connected to one of the biggest sports stories in America. And K2 Sports gained another champion to the future in its basketball ecosystem. Now, can we calculate every amount of dollars of that increase? Not precisely, but no mistakes. Because the increase is real, and it could be worth tens of millions over the next several years. Now, let's talk about the team that made all of this possible. Because championships aren't won alone. Karl-Anthony Towns was the highest player on the Knicks roster this season, earning approximately $53.1 million. Right behind him was OG Anunoby, the Nigerian-British forward whose 5-year extension is worth approximately $212 million. He salary reached about $39.6 million. Then there was Jalen Brunson, the man who scored 55 points in the championship, clinching the game and earned Finals MVP honors. Brunson made approximately $34.9 million this season, but his story might be the most fascinating of all. A few years ago, Brunson made a decision that many athletes would never make. Instead of demanding every dollar possible, he accepted the contract below his maximum value. And you may ask yourself why. Because he wanted the Knicks to have enough financial flexibility to build a championship roster. The team used that flexibility to acquire players like Karl-Anthony and OG Anunoby, and together they won a championship. Now, Brunson enters free agency with a title, a Finals MVP trophy, and tremendous leverage. The contract negotiations ahead could become some of the most expensive in NBA history. The rest of the roster wasn't exactly struggling either. Michael Bridges earned approximately $24.9 million. Josh Hart earned around $19.5 million. And Michelle Robinson earned approximately $13 million. And altogether, the Knicks carried a payroll of roughly $211.7 million, making them one of the most expensive teams in basketball. And not forgetting the coach, because even the coach benefited. Mike Brown reportedly earns approximately $10 million per year. And what's remarkable about him is, he wasn't the organization's first choice, or second, or third. even fourth. He became a head of coach after multiple of other candidates declined the position. Then in the first session, he delivered a championship. Sometimes opportunities arrive in unexpected ways. But here is the part of the story that's more interesting. Because championship eventually ends, basketball careers eventually ends. What matters is what athletes build beyond the game. And Karl-Anthony Towns appears to understand that. While many athletes focus exclusively on their sports, Towns has quietly been building a business portfolio. One of the most notable investments is Oxfit. The company uses artificial intelligence to help predict and prevent sport injuries. Now think about how personal that investment is. In 2020, Towns suffered seriously an ankle injury, and he was the first to experience how injury can disrupt your career. Years later, he invested in technology designed to reduce those risks. And that's not investing. That's investing in solution to a problem he personally understands. He also invested in consumer technology companies and holds equity position in functional beverage brands. While the public sees athletes, Anthony has been building an entrepreneur. And that's very important. Because the athletes who retire wealthy aren't always the athletes who earn the most money. They are often the athletes who learned how to make their money work for them. At 30 years old, Karl-Anthony now has something many athletes spend their entire career chasing. He has the championship. He has a $220 million contract. He has a major endorsement deals. He has a growing investment portfolio. And perhaps most importantly, he has a platform that is bigger today than it has ever been. The city that has always questioned him now is celebrating him. The critics who doubted him have fewer arguments left, and the Browns that already believed in him now have even more reason to invest. So what is the real lesson here? It's very easy to look at athletes and define them with their salaries, their contracts, their cars, even their headlines. But the real story is what's happening behind the scene, where success creates opportunities, and opportunities creates leverage, and leverage creates wealth. Karl-Anthony didn't become rich because he won just a championship. He became richer because he spent years building that foundation that allowed him to capitalize that moment before it even arrived. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share, and comment your thoughts about Karl-Anthony's. And don't forget to give this video to a person who likes basketball and business, or both. This was Mariam Keza. I'll see you in the next one.